"That's not for me. That's definitely not for me," was the response I constantly gave whenever I was asked if I'd consider a career in agriculture. When I was a student in this very same school about 10 years ago, teachers would often ask us if we wanted to follow in our parents' footsteps. Like mother, like daughter. But no. I mean, my mom likes green, and I'm biased towards all things yellow. She likes to garden, and I'd rather be painting flowers in an art class. Now, don't even get me started on the fact that she's a science whiz, because Miss Sangani can vouch that I never had any chemistry with any of the STEM subjects. I just didn't see how I could fit in this realm, but I'm not alone in this. See, if I were to ask any of you what sort of imagery comes to mind whenever you hear the words farming in Africa, what do you think of? Do you think of maize fields in Trans-Zoia? Or maybe it's chicken clucking and livestock bleating to be fed? Or what about those green, luscious tea plantations that you often find on Safaricom ads? Or do you think of her? The personification of it all. That old African woman, donned in traditional fabric, holding a hoe as she plows the land. Now, my mother isn't a farmer. She's actually a development practitioner in the field. But more often than not, the illustration I just presented is what's plastered all over our TV sets, on publications, and perhaps even ingrained in your mind whenever agriculture in sub-Saharan Africa is mentioned. The pervasiveness of this imagery has shaped a perception that just isn't enticing for young people like you and I. However, that all changed for me recently when I unexpectedly found myself working in the sector. I spent the past 2 years as a communication associate, where on occasion I attend conferences that discuss the growing concern about food security on the continent. Namely, how the average age of farmers in Africa is 60, and yet youth, who'd be most equipped to take over, just don't see it as cool or viable enough to forge a successful career in. Now, I'm not going to bore you about the statistics of this problem. Instead, I'm going to tell you about Leah. Now, her story isn't the kind that Steven Spielberg would be rushing over to make an Oscar-worthy movie out of. In fact, she sounds like the average Jane, with pretty good eyebrows. Smart, sassy, always fashion-savvy, Leah is a 28-year-old mom from Nyahururu, Kenya. But what sets her apart is the fact that she was one of the 4 contestants in an experiment of sorts, devised by the organization I work for. Now, we knew in order to get young people into farming, we had to repackage it as a profitable enterprise. They needed to be encouraged to go into agribusiness instead of traditional farming. So, we created, produced, a reality TV show called Don't Lose the Plot. Question: if I were to ask any one of you to live on a farm with a bunch of strangers for 9 months for the chance of winning 1 million Kenyan shillings, that's about $10,000 US, who would take me up on that offer? Well, we selected 4 young individuals from Kenya and Tanzania. We put them on a farm on the outskirts of Nairobi. And at the end of the 9-month period, whoever made the most money in the most sustainable way got to keep the plot or win the investment worth 1 million. Now, throughout the competition, Leah was certain she was going to win. In fact, she couldn't stop bragging about it. But in the end, she didn't. In fact, she was last. But the objective of the show was to encourage young people into farming, and that was achieved. When the show wrapped in early August, Leah's grandmother gave her a piece of land, and with the little prize money that she did win, she now has a profitable enterprise growing green peas and mushrooms. Now, who would have thought that a beautiful young lady such as Leah could ever get those perfectly manicured nails dirty? Now, I might have singled out Leah, but one challenge that all contestants had was in budgeting. Now, going in, it was foreseen that this would be an issue, not just for the contestants, but for the 3 million viewers who tuned in each week. So together with Mercy Corps AgriFin Accelerate, we developed a budgeting tool that will allow aspiring and inexperienced farmers to do so in a profitable and sustainable manner. Hence, Budget Mkononi came to life. Essentially, it is a web-based agricultural budgeting tool that allows users to view estimated costs of various commodities, as well as the profits that they can make. All you have to do is log on to the Don't Lose a Plot website, click on Budget Mkononi, and select one of the commodities. Then, key in the amount of acres you want to farm, and it will generate your budget. Now, the budgets are created to be as realistic and personalized as possible, so you can add items, remove items, as well as edit the costs. Once you're done, you can download the budget, share it with friends and family, or even use it to get a loan from a financial institution. Ultimately, with such solutions at hand, the days that farming was a poor man's venture or the domain of the uneducated are gone. Through modern and technological advancements, today's agriculture is breaking the mold, and a new frontier of farming that is young, vibrant, and innovative is available for the taking. So don't let the color of the collar be a determinant for success. Instead, realize that Africa has huge potential that goes beyond the white versus blue binary. Even if you decide not to be an agribusiness entrepreneur like Claire, go get yourself an Ivy League law degree and contribute to land legislation. Study film and direct an award-winning agricultural documentary. Be an IT guru developing Uber-like apps that allow farmers to transport goods at the click of a button. Or work for the World Bank as an economist, influencing how national budgets are allocated towards agriculture. Even develop aerial drones as a software engineer that allow farmers to analyze crops and soil. Simply put, whether you're the kind of person who looks at things in a half-glass full or a half-glass empty kind of way, realize that the cup has something in it, so drink from it. 844 million people go without water each day, and it would be a shame if you didn't drink out of the cup of opportunity that the agricultural industry has to offer. Now, I might have started this journey saying, that's not for me. But somewhere along the line, I realized that every opportunity that lands in your lap is a learning experience. Even if it's not where you saw yourself, it's an avenue for growth, both for you and the beautiful continent that we inhabit. So don't limit yourself into thinking that you have to study a particular set of subjects to work in a certain area, or that your career path will follow a linear trajectory. You don't even have to compromise on what you're passionate about. You just simply have to be willing to adapt and immerse yourself to whatever comes your way. And if there's one thing that I've come to appreciate that I used to take for granted, it is this. If you ate today, thank a farmer. How many of you have ever stopped to do so? Ultimately, farming comes in many forms and many shapes, has many faces and many roles. And maybe one day, just maybe, you will say, hey, it is for me. And I and the rest of Africa will have you to thank for the food on our plates. Thank you.